Where have I been? It's been about a month since I have made a video. I did not end up making any videos about free agency. Last video I made was when Taylor Decker announced that he was returning to the Detroit Lions, and I talked about that in the video. That was the last video that I have made, and this video that I'm making needed to happen just for the purpose of the channel, and we'll get to the actual video part. The Detroit Lions video part, recap of free agency is what this video will be about in a little bit. But for the first couple minutes, I just kind of want to explain where I have been, because obviously I said in the last video that I made that I was going to be grinding when free agency started, when the tampering period opened, and even beforehand about, what free agents I think we should re-sign, go out and go get on the open market. And it just didn't happen. And first off, I was just being lazy. That's the bottom line. I was being lazy when it comes to the pre-free agency. Me talking about players I think we should re-sign, go get on the open market once the tampering period opens. That was just me being flat out lazy. But then once the tampering period opened and the Detroit Lions really did not go after any significant players, it kind of went through my mind that, listen, I'm already behind on free agency a little bit here. I didn't make any pre-videos about free agency. Do I even want to make videos about the players that we just signed? Cade Mays, no, not very exciting. I mean, it helps out the offensive line, but it's not very exciting. I said we need to go get Trey Hendrickson. At all costs, we need to go get Trey Hendrickson. If you go look at my Twitter page, I can't remember if I said it in that Taylor Decker video, but if you're on my Twitter page, you follow my Twitter, you will realize that I'm pretty sure I said we needed to get Trey Hendrickson at all costs, no questions, and we didn't go get him. And I kind of take that back a little bit now, looking back at it from how Brad Holmes handles free agency. And I mean, just before I, go into free agency, this is not going to be a critical video. Like, the whole video is not going to be critical. Will I be critical of some things? Absolutely, because this free agency by any means has not been great. But listen, what Brad Holmes has done to his free agency, he has set himself in a position where if he knocks it out of the park in the draft, we can still be Super Bowl contenders next year. The problem is the odds of that happening are very low, because Brad Holmes needs 2 to 3 really good players in the draft year one, I think, to be in that situation. And it's possible. It's very possible. There are multiple players in the positions that the Detroit Lions need hitting in the draft are strong positions in the draft. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more. But where have I been? Again, I was really contemplating, did I want to continue making content? Because after Brad Holmes' first couple days of free agency, not getting Trey Hendrickson, not really opening a whole bunch of cap room, as he only restructured Jared Goff, and he didn't even restructure it up to the fullest, I really was deciding, did I want to continue to make content? And honestly, at that moment, first couple days of free agency, I'm already behind. I'm like, man, I really don't know. I might be done. I was about to throw in the towel, man. I was about to throw in the towel, and I'm like, I can't do it, because and the reason why I'm making this video, and I'm going to tell you right now, content is not going away. It is not going away. I'm not throwing in the towel. I cannot do that, because first off, because it just it doesn't make me look good, first off. The fact that, I've been making content for about 3 years now. This is going on year 3, and we've, record-wise and just how we've been on the field and recognized as an organization, we've been a really good football team. And then once, we start heading into a bad situation, I just vanish. That's not what I'm about. I actually prefer talking when we're in bad situations, because you have something to look forward to, but also to help get yourself out of the situation. And there's just always more stuff to talk about, to be completely honest with you, when you're a worse football team. And off camera, I have been the same person when it comes to free agency and how much involved I've been with the football team. I've been watching film when it comes to the draft nonstop here the past couple of weeks. I've addressed pretty much all the defensive end and and offensive tackle positions. I got to look at some more linebackers, and then we'll look at the rest of the positions. But the linebackers is the last big position I got to take a look at that I think the Detroit Lions really, really need in the draft. But I've been the same person when it comes off camera, of being involved with the team, having passion about the football team, but the content side of things, I have not had that. So that's why it has taken me so long to get a video out there. And I was just fine. It's very late at night here when I'm making this video. It's actually Easter probably when you're seeing this. So happy Easter. And this will be an Easter special to say the least. But that is where I've been. I've just really been contemplating, am I done? Am I throwing in the towel? And again, I'm not. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if videos are going to be posted consistently. I don't know. I don't want to say that because after what I said last time in the Taylor Decker returning video, I said I was going to be, releasing a whole bunch of videos and we're going to be nonstop the next couple weeks when free agency opens. And what do you know? I didn't make a video for a month after I said that. So, and now the free agency is essentially over. So, I don't want to make any promises now, but I don't know what content is going to look like up until the draft. I don't know. Now, do I plan to release videos before the draft? Yes. Will I have the passion to make videos before the draft? I don't know. That's something I'm still trying to get motivation to make those videos because I've still been doing my mock drafts off camera. I've still been doing them, still been having the interest to do them. Just making content has not been there for me. The passion to do that has not been there for me. So again, I don't know up until the draft how many videos there will be about the draft. If there will be any mock drafts this year for me, I don't know. I hope there is. I would like to release at least one mock draft before the draft. At least one Lions and one full round one mock draft around the NFL, but I don't know. We'll see if the passion is there, but I needed to make this video for the sake of this channel if I was not throwing in the towel, which I'm not. And that's free agency recap. So if you stuck to this point, I appreciate you. And man, we're gonna continue. We're gonna continue this channel. We're gonna try to keep it steady, and we're gonna try to keep it going. I'm gonna try to go through the hard times with y'all, but it was really tough, honestly. Like the past month, it was really tough. Thinking if I really wanted to continue this channel or not. But let's go ahead and get on with the free agency recap, and we're just gonna be going over Pride of Detroit's tracker, the free agency tracker that they put out every single year. And I'm going to just be going through the signings 1v1. I'm not going to be going over anybody's stats. He has the reported value and year length up here. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be giving my thoughts on the player, and then that'll be that. So I know it's not a traditional free agency, how I usually handled it for like I did the past couple of years, but we're in a situation now where this news just is so old. I mean, like, it's ancient at this point. So again, my reaction to every single player that we signed is essentially pointless now because I have totally different reactions on some players than when we initially signed them. And it's just, but I had to get the video out here. And I know you guys want to hear my opinion on it. So here we go. First signing of free agency, we ended up signing Cade Mays to a 3-year, $25 million deal with, I believe it was around $12 million guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Lions have a potential out after 2 years. The Cade Mays signing, I did not like initially at first. I did not love the Cade Mays. Did I hate it? Absolutely not, because we needed a center. But I thought what I really wanted the Lions to do initially was move Ratledge to center. That is what I wanted the Lions to do. And they went and got Cade Mays, and I'm like, well, there goes that. But more and more I've kind of sat on it, depending how the Lions handle the offensive line in the draft. I don't mind the signing. Now, in my opinion, from the film I've watched of Cade Mays, I'm a little bit disappointed. I really, really am. He's just, to me, Cade Mays right now is an average starting center. That's just, now again, has he shown flashes every single game, every single year? Yes, he has, of improvement and just flashes in general. Yes, and he is an improving center. He's an up-and-coming center, but right now, in my opinion, he's just an average starting center. Now, does that mean he will be an average starting center next year? Absolutely not. He could be a good center next year. He could be a worse center. You don't know with the NFL, but to me, from what the film I have watched, he just seems like a very average center. Now, again, I don't know how that will end up panning out for the Lions. Again, he's also an up-and-coming center. Like, you watched the film, he got better as the season went along. But at the end of the season, again, I viewed him at best as average starting center. So we'll see how this pans out. There, in my opinion, is still a small chance that Cade Mays could end up being your left guard for the future. Or we'll just say to play out his contract. I do believe he will be your center this year. Pretty much a foregone conclusion that he will be. But I still think there is a slim chance that he could be moved to the left guard position, as that is still a position of need for the Lions. The Lions really have 3 players competing for the starting left guard position. As another player that they went out and got in free agency was Ben Bartch from the Niners. Didn't know much about the guy when we signed him. I know we were initially interested in him as we brought him in for a visit. We did not sign him the day we brought him in for a visit. About a couple days to a week later, I believe, is when we signed him. And now we have a 3-way, players, 3 players essentially competing for the starting left guard position next year. Mahogany, Frazier, and Ben Bartch. But that does not mean we can't add a 4th or go pick up a guy in the draft early to, be essentially your starter without any competition. But Ben Bartch, this isn't a big signing in my opinion. He could very well be your starting left guard next year. Now, he did play a little bit of tackle in college. I believe he went to Iowa. I can't remember honestly where he went. I believe it was Iowa. Now, Ben Bartch film, he's a bigger offensive guard. I believe he's 6'6", around 310, if I'm not mistaken. Played a little bit of tackle in college. Really has not played any tackle in the NFL. Former Jaguars draft pick, 4th-round pick. This is a decent little signing in my opinion. Didn't play a whole lot last year, was injured. But this guy has shown potential when he has been on the field. Has been a decent little draft pick in terms of, has he goes out to 4th-round pick? I would say he probably has, even though he hasn't been, a consistent star in the league. He's been a great depth piece, and I think that's what he will be with us at the bare minimum. So I really do like the Ben Bartch signing, just for depth purposes. Terms are not out yet, but this will be, again, probably around the veteran minimum. So this is a good signing, in my opinion, for the Lions. Another player that they wanted and got is Tyler Conklin. This one I like as well. This is probably one of my favorite signings, to be honest with you, because it leaves the Lions so much flexibility for the draft, for something crazy to happen. I'll talk about that in a minute, but they signed him to a 1-year, $1.3 million deal. Again, almost the veteran minimum for a guy who can be a starting tight end in the NFL. I do believe that. I think this is arguably the best signing at free agency because, like I said, it leaves the possibility of some crazy stuff to happen during the draft. What I mean by that is I think the Lions have the chance to trade LaPorta during the draft. My dad was like, the Lions, from how they handle free agency, they got something cooking. They got something up their sleeves for the draft, something major they're going to make. Whether that's trading, a future 2nd or 1st-round pick to get another 1st-round pick in this year's draft, or whether they're trading a guy like Sam LaPorta, which is the one he was referring to there, try to get another 1st-round pick or something like that. And I think Tyler Conklin, I'm not saying that they're going to do that. Tyler Conklin is your tight end 2 right now. There's no question that he's your tight end 2. He's not going to be your tight end 3. Brock Wright has been demoted to tight end 3. That is what this means. And it also leaves the possibility, in my opinion, if you are not going to trade Sam LaPorta and you are going to keep him, I think there's a chance Brock Wright is still not on this football team next year because he's your tight end 3 right now. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Mike Payton from A to Z Sports put out an article that of cut candidates before free agency began. If the Lions cut Brock Wright, post June 1st designation, the Lions would gain $7 million, around almost close to $7 million in cap space. There is no way you are paying a tight end 3 $7 million who's coming off of a severe season-ending neck injury. There's no way you're doing that, and yet you don't even know if he's going to play next year. So there's no way you're going to pay him $7 million to be your tight end 3. There's just no way. So in my opinion, Brock Wright's not either going to be on this football team by the beginning of next season, if that is true, or he will be your tight end 2 because Tyler Conklin will become your new tight end 1 once LaPorta could end up getting traded. So this deal I like a lot. It gives you lots of flexibility. He has put up starting tight end numbers throughout his career. He averages around 500 yards a season when he's starting, which is starting tight end numbers. Very underrated tight end. I like the signing a lot. One of my more favorite signings of free agency. They also signed Greg Dortch, I think it was week 2 of free agency, to a 1-year, $1.4 million deal to replace Khalif Raymond, who we'll talk about in a minute, who we lost. Like this signing. Speedy, fast wide receiver, probably going to be your new kick returner, punt returner. He's essentially just Khalif Raymond. He's very quick. He will obviously going to be your wide receiver 4. He will not be your wide receiver 3. I want the Lions to go get a more productive wide receiver in his career. A guy like Kendrick Bourne, who I'm a big fan of, ended up going to the Cardinals. So Isaac TeSlaa is still going to remain your wide receiver 3, which is fine, but you still need to get another wide receiver, in my opinion, in this wide receiver room, whether that's later in the draft or you bring another veteran in. But Greg Dortch, don't mind the signing, especially for the value. It's a decent little signing. Not too mad at it. Isaiah Pacheco, we ended up signing to a one-year, $1.81 million deal to replace Montgomery, who we ended up trading, and I haven't even talked about that. Us trading Montgomery, my overall thoughts on it, because again, it's so old news. We ended up trading him to the Texans for a 4th-round pick, Juice Scruggs, and a future 7th-round pick. I actually like the trade value that we got for him, but it sucks to lose the player. You're not going to be able to get a player of his caliber to replace him this year. You're just not. Lions end up replacing him with Isaiah Pacheco, who's now been on the downhill for 2 seasons now, but I think he can revive his career his first 2 years in the league. He looked like the next, I don't know, top 10 running back in the NFL. Kind of reminded me a lot of, I don't want to say it's a good comparison, but Devontae Freeman a little bit is kind of what he reminded me of in his first 2 years of his NFL career. Again, has not been very productive these past 2 years, especially last year, but for the value, it's a low-risk signing. He's still a good running back, too. This is a good signing, in my opinion, especially for value, but also as a replacement. Now, I want the Lions to go get James Conner, didn't end up getting released, stayed with the Cardinals, and I think Isaiah Pacheco is a good replacement since James Conner did not happen. So I'm fine with this one. We ended up bringing back Teddy Bridgewater. Terms not out yet, I believe. He signed around a 1 year, probably close to veteran minimum deal. We ended up losing Kyle Allen. This is a decent replacement, in my opinion, for Kyle Allen. In my opinion, though, Kyle Allen is on the same level as Teddy Bridgewater at this point in his career, so it's essentially a lateral move. This one is fine to me. I'm still getting a quarterback either late in the draft or in the 6th or 7th round this year, or a top-end UDFA quarterback, because the Lions need a 3rd quarterback, obviously, for training camp, but just to hopefully be a long-term backup. Bridgewater is just he's getting old, man. He started a game for the Bucs last year and it was not pretty, so I just don't know if he's got it anymore to be like a consistent good backup quarterback. But I don't mind the signing. I ended up signing Larry Borom to a 1-year, $5 million deal to most likely be your starting right tackle next season, as the Lions are planning to move Penei Sewell to left tackle as of right now. Don't mind that signing when it comes to the aspect of, it makes sense as a depth piece, but the fact that he's most likely going to be your starter and that you paid him the amount of money that you did, that he could have probably got half the amount less, it's just, I don't love the signing for the value and the fact that he's most likely going to be your starting tackle, right tackle next year. Don't love it. Probably one of my least favorite signings, to be honest with you. Now, I believe it was from like week 4 to, I want to say, week 17, or maybe it was like week 8 to week 17. He was one of the higher end pass blocking tackles per PFF. In my opinion, doesn't mean a whole lot because he's not been great throughout his NFL career. Last year was definitely the best season of his career. When he was with the Bears, drafted with the Bears, he was not very good with them. I like him as a backup. I don't like him as a starter, and I don't like the amount of money we had to pay to bring him in. Now, again, does that mean I'm out at the signing? No, but if he's your starting tackle next year, yes, I will be, because it was not a good decision, in my opinion, to release Taylor Decker. We'll get to that here in a minute. Probably one of my least favorite signings that we made of free agency. We ended up bringing in DJ Wonnum on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Was very, very high on him 2 years ago. Heading into free agency, the former Vikings defensive end had 2 8-sack seasons in his NFL career. One where I believe he had 8 sacks in 13 or 14 games. Probably would have hit double digits if he played every single game of the season that year. I believe it was his last year with the Vikings when he did that. Powerful edge rusher. Was a great compliment to Danielle Hunter when he was with the Vikings. I really like this signing a lot. He gives you flexibility for him to be your defensive end 2 opposite Hutchinson and your 3rd down pass rusher opposite Hutch. But it also gives you flexibility to still draft a defensive end high in the draft, whether that's with the 1st round pick, 2nd round pick, or even 3rd round pick, because this edge class is very deep, to come in and be your edge 2 opposite Hutch. And if that rookie is not ready, then you can have DJ Wonnum be your edge 2 and be completely fine, in my opinion, because you have good, capable depth to come in as well. So I really like the signing a lot for $3 million, which is the base value. It's worth up to 5, I believe. This is a fine deal, in my opinion, specifically when you get Marcus Davenport 2.5 last year. So paying a little bit of money, but for a better guy and more healthy guy. Now, he was not the healthiest last year, coming off of one of the more down seasons of his career, too, but I'm not even too worried about it, to be honest. Lions end up signing former Saints first-round pick Peyton Turner to a one-year, $1.45 million deal, essentially the veteran minimum, which is, again, the case for a lot of these guys, but it's essentially the veteran minimum. But the funny part is, again, former first-round pick of the Saints, and he essentially is the same size and health-wise in Marcus Davenport. Peyton Turner is 6'6", 270. To put it into perspective, when we signed Marcus Davenport, he was 6'6", 265, and he gained a whole lot of weight last year, but he was 6'6", 285 at the end. But when we signed him, and for the first couple years of his career, he was 6'6", 265 to 6'6", 270. So essentially the same size as Peyton Turner. Other thing, former first-round pick of the Saints. Third thing, he's never on the field because he's hurt. Peyton Turner missed all last season with a season-ending injury, was on the Cowboys, did not play a single game. And his time with the Saints, he was not healthy either. He has missed, I can't remember the exact number, but I believe he has missed close to 80% of the NFL games that he has had the chance to play in. 80% due to injury. That is unbelievable. And the guy has not been productive either when he's on the field. Now, do I dislike the signing? No, because, again, it's as low risk of a signing as you're going to get. Now, the problem is the Lions have to add another defensive end to this roster. They have to. This does not mean they put themselves in a situation from free agency to not add a pass rusher in the draft. That is inexcusable if they don't do that. They have to get a guy in the draft, whether that is to be your edge 2 or not. In my opinion, they have to get an edge rusher within the first 3 rounds of the draft. They have to. There's a couple guys that I really like. First-round guys that I really, really like, there's only really one that are like, probably going to be a first-round pick. That's Akeem Mesidor, my favorite defensive end in this draft. He is going to be a great player year 1. He's old. He's as old as you're going to get, really, for a rookie. He'll be 25, but he's such a good pass rusher. Second-round guys, I really like Gabe Yakis from Illinois. Very productive pass rusher. Great size. Really like him. I actually have him as a first-round talent. A lot of people has him as second. So there's a little spoiler to my, big board if I ever make that video. But I really like Gabe Yakis a lot. I like Malachi Lawrence a lot. Not a big fan of Zion Young like a lot of people are. Just I don't really see him becoming, a double-digit sack guy in the NFL. I don't really see that. I do see that with Gabe Yakis. I do see that with Akeem Mesidor. I do potentially see that with Malachi Lawrence. Another guy I really like is Dennis Sutton from Penn State, projected 3rd-round pick. He is really a 3rd-round guy I'm looking at. If you can't really get your edge rusher opposite Hutch in the 1st or 2nd round, he can be a guy who can end up, in my opinion, developing into that edge rusher opposite Hutch. Great size, 6'5", 265. Very productive edge rusher from Penn State. I believe he had back-to-back 8-sack seasons, or maybe I think it was actually back-to-back 8.5-sack seasons with the Lions, with the Nittany Lions, 2 seasons in a row. And he's very, very good film on the field. Good run stuff. He's not probably going to be your defensive end opposite Hutch immediately, but he has the potential. But also, he has a very high upside of developing into your edge rusher opposite Hutchinson in the long term. So you got to get an edge rusher within the first 3 rounds. There's some guys I really, really like. But it does not mean by any means that the Lions have put themselves in a situation where they cannot draft a defensive end in the draft or within the first 3 rounds. They have to. That's the bottom line. But I do like the signing of Peyton Turner for depth purposes, and it's a low risk, high reward signing. There we go. It's been a while. A couple more signings to go over, and then we'll wrap this video up. And ended up signing former 4th-round pick Damone Clark to a 1-year, $1.4 million deal. Has not lived up to a 4th-round pick in his NFL career so far. He's dealt with injuries and has just not been the best player in the field. But this guy's a lot of potential. Close relationship with Kelvin Shepherd. Went to LSU. This guy has a lot. If I'm not mistaken, he went to LSU. I'm not confident on that, but I believe he did. Was very high coming out of the draft, dealt with some injuries, and I think his draft stock lowered because of that. But if I'm not mistaken, before his injuries, he was projected to be a 2nd-round pick and was one of the better linebackers coming out of the, I believe it was 2021 draft. So, again, low risk, high reward signing here. Probably going to be your Zach Cunningham replacement is what it's mainly looking like as your linebacker 5, as I do expect the Lions to get a decent linebacker in the mid rounds to probably be your linebacker 4 to replace Malcolm Rodriguez essentially, and then Malcolm Rodriguez would be your Alex Anzalone replacement as your starter. But we'll see what ends up happening. And another signing, probably their best overall value signing, they ended up signing Roger McCreary to a 1-year, $1.4 million deal. If I'm not mistaken, we actually had trade interest in him at the deadline, or some people thought we could trade for him. This is a signing. He's going to be your Meek Robertson replacement most likely and be your starting nickel next season. This is a great signing. Low risk, high reward signing. Again, he was actually projected around midseason last year to get around a $60 million deal in free agency. So this is a steal of a deal. And, again, high potential. I mean, to be honest with you, like, play-wise and the production that he could put on the field next year at the cornerback, he could end up being your cornerback 1 by the end of the year next year. So, again, the value of the signing is ridiculous, and it has the potential to be one of the better signings of Brad Holmes' free agency. My favorite signing is obviously probably value-wise, in my opinion. I was going to say Tyler Conklin, but it might be Roger McCreary, to be honest with you. It's very close between the two. And then we ended up signing a couple more players. Ended up bringing in Christian Izien, mainly a safety, but he has the potential to play nickel, to a 1-year, $2 million deal. I like this signing a lot. Former UDFA. Had a couple really good years. The Bucs as UDFA. Didn't play a whole lot last year, but his first couple years in the league showed lots of potential. Again, low risk, high reward signing here. I wonder what the role he is going to have with us, though. I'm assuming he's your Avonte Maddox replacement, but at the same time, maybe the Lions do more as a nickel and a cornerback. So we'll see, but this is good signing in my opinion. And honestly, the first mock free agency I did, which was off camera, I did on Madden franchise, mock free agency on Madden, and I ended up signing Christian Izien. So I got one right, just wasn't on camera. Of course, it's not on camera, right? And then the last signing we may actually have it a couple of days ago, probably the last signing we'll have before the draft. We ended up signing veteran safety Chuck Clark to obviously going to be a 1-year deal. Probably around, my guess would be $1.3 million would be my guess. So this is a very good depth signing. He's been a great player throughout his career when it comes to he has the potential to be a starter. Started a lot of games throughout his NFL career. He's one of your oldest players that the Lions end up signing. It's an interesting sign to me because they signed him over a guy like Avonte Maddox who is still on the market. So it's interesting to me because he's very good in the run game. A little bit of a bigger safety compared to Avonte Maddox. Avonte Maddox is 5'9", I believe Chuck Clark is 5'11", so it's a pretty big, significant size difference. And then Chuck Clark is a huge hitter as well, so not the best in coverage. Avonte Maddox a little bit better in coverage, but this is, again, probably a lateral move. I would say maybe Chuck Clark's a little bit of a better upgrade over Avonte Maddox, but it's around the same lateral move. So I'm curious why the reason why the Lions have not yet brought back Avonte Maddox, or why they don't plan to. I'm a little bit curious why, because he's a very good player for you overall last year. But that is your Lions free agency class that they brought in. They spent, I believe it was around $25 million total, somewhere around there, and I believe they still have around 20 left. $5 to $8 million will probably be used for the draft. Will be the draft cost with UDFAs, and then you obviously probably want to have around at least $6 to $8 million for in-season free agents, if not more. So then that leaves you around $5 to $6 million to spend for the rest of free agency before, preseason and training camp. So to go make a couple more signings. So we'll see what happens. Free agency is not over, in my opinion, yet for the Lions when it comes to, I think they will sign some guys after the draft, some veteran players. So I don't think it's over by any means. But the big part of free agency before the draft is most likely over. So Brad Holmes' free agency class, again, what I take away from this is that Brad Holmes has put yourself in a position where if he knocks out of the park within the draft this year, I think you're at bare minimum going to be Super Bowl contenders. I think that's the bottom line. I think you have a really good shot at Super Bowl next year if he can knock it out of the park in the draft. However, that's if you knock it out of the park. And what I mean by that, you have to hit, at least in my opinion, at least 2 of your draft picks, and it has to be the right position. And you'd really like 3 players you hit out the class. And to compare that is probably the 2023 draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, great player year 1. Sam Laporta, great player year 1. Brian Branch, great player year 1. Jack Campbell was fine. His rookie season wasn't anything spectacular. So he had 3 players that were knocked out of the parks in year 1 of the 2023 draft. If he can do the same in the 2026 draft, we are Super Bowl contenders. And again, we don't know that until those players step on the field. But some players that I really, really like that again, this is not a mock draft, but just hypothetically, get Monroe Freeling. Love Monroe Freeling. We'll put it this way. If you can get a tackle and an edge rusher within the first and second round, maybe you even trade up and get 2 in the first round, whatever the case may be. If you can hit on that edge rusher and tackle, I think you're back in Super Bowl contention. That's all I'm saying. You really need a tackle and defensive end in the draft. And that's why I think, trying to get an extra first-round pick this year is something that's definitely in the range of possibility, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, we'll have at least, I'm trying to get 1 Lions mock draft out before the draft. We'll see. And then 1 NFL mock draft, round 1 mock draft. But we'll see what happens. But again, that is the Lions free agency class. That is my expectations for heading into the draft and what the Lions need to do to be Super Bowl contenders again. The free agency class right now for Brad Holmes, I'm going to give it an A-, depending on what he does in the draft. The offseason grade could rise. Right now, Brad Holmes' offseason, I'm going to give it an overall B+. His free agency, I'm going to give it an A-. And what I mean by the whole entire offseason, like the Montgomery trade as well. So right now, it is a B+, the offseason, in my opinion, for the Lions free agency. We're going to give the free agency grade actually a flat B with the potential of being an A- depending on the draft. Well, that's what we're actually going to be in. And then we'll just give them, okay. Right now, free agency class, I'm going to give it a flat B. Depending on what it does in the draft, it could raise to an A-. So the Lions offseason so far, I'm going to give it a flat B. Depending on the draft, and we'll just kind of highlight here rest of the players that we did not bring back and then we released. Take about 5 minutes here. So again, I appreciate this long video. I know if you stayed this far, I appreciate it. No, it's a long video, but I had to make this video. So I had to, man, for the sake of this channel. Again, I already talked about Juice Scruggs. I mean, when it comes to Juice Scruggs, I haven't really talked about it in the Lions. It looks like they view him as a center. He's probably going to be your backup center next year. And he doesn't even really have the chance. There's a chance he don't even make the roster. So, again, I think his contract's around $1.6 million, low risk signing. Good backup center to have. Not really a starter, but former second-round pick from Penn State. Just, it's not a horrible signing. Horrible player by any means, and just value-wise, again, to be backup center, it's a decent little deal. The fact that you got him in the money trade. Lions released Graham Glasgow. We saw that one's coming. They say $5.5 million by doing that. They released Taylor Decker, which I haven't talked about. Hate that move right now. The Lions also reportedly have not reached out to Taylor Decker as of right now. So there's a lot of criticism coming to that. The Lions organization. Something else I want to talk about. Rod Wood is retiring as president, which is fine. I've never been that big of a fan of Rod Wood, to be honest with you. That's just me as a fan. I never thought he's been the greatest, but again, he's also put the Lions in a position, he had a part to do with the hiring of Brad Holmes, so you got to give him some credit there. But there was also another report that the Lions asked for Frank Ragnow to give back $1.5 million of a signing bonus that he got when he retired, and I don't like that at all, obviously. Again, I don't know the whole situation, but the Lions now have done that with Calvin, Barry, and Frank Ragnow. Now 3 Lions legends. Don't really like that at all, especially for $1.5 million. What is that going to get you for a player? I mean, just Scruggs is essentially that. So it's essentially you're just saying, oh, I really need that $1.5 million so I can go get a player of just Scruggs caliber. You know what I'm saying? Like, just seems a bit much when you can create that $1.5 million elsewhere. Just seems like a bit much. So, but the Taylor Decker release right now, doesn't look good at all right now. But again, that could easily change by the draft. So we'll just see what happens. They also released, because of the deal that Josh Paschal had, of his contract rolling over. He was under contract for next season, the Lions. I don't know if it's because of his health or not. But the Lions ended up deciding to release him, got $1.6 million in cap room. Not too mad at that, to be honest with you, but depending what they do in the draft. If the Lions viewed him as an edge, I'm definitely fine with this. He's not a good edge rusher. I like him up the middle. Josh Pascal is a good player up the middle. He is, man. He can get after the quarterback when you rush him up the middle. If you rush him on the edge, he cannot. Good, decent run stopper on the edge. But if you want to hit the best player of Josh Pascal, it is up the middle. Specifically in the pass rush game. As an overall player, he is best up the middle. So if the Lions do him as an edge rusher, I like this because you get him a better opportunity elsewhere. But you also save $1.6 million. So obviously Josh Pascal goes down as a bust. But I also don't think the Lions has really used him right in Detroit. I really don't think so because they had him as an edge primarily. But when the Lions used him up the middle, that's when he was most effective. So wish Josh Pascal the best. Great story, man. Hope he can continue his career again. I don't know the reason why he didn't finish last year. And he didn't play at all last year. I don't know why the reason was. If it was because it was on the NFI the whole year. So I don't know what the reason was. Wish the best Josh Pascal moving forward. But it's unfortunate, obviously, because the draft pick didn't work out. But also because the Lions, in my opinion, just didn't use him right. But there's that. And then these are all the players that the Detroit Lions re-signed. Miles Adams to a one-year, $1.45 million deal. It's an interesting re-signing, to say the least. Tom Kennedy, we knew he was probably coming back. Has a chance to make the 53-man roster as a wide receiver 5 next year. Like that signing. Rocky Sean, this was a must. 1 year, $3.2 million deal. Great value. He was your best cornerback last season. He played like a cornerback 1 last year. He's really honestly probably been your best cornerback the Lions have had in terms of how he played on the field in multiple years. If he could continue that next year, the Lions could have a great cornerback room just based off depth and their players that are coming back. They re-signed Malcolm Rodriguez to a 1 year, $2.75 million deal. It'd most likely be your starting, I would guess, will linebacker, but we'll see. Really like that re-signing. Trevor Nowatzki brought back in a 1 year, $1.35 million deal. That was a must. Great depth linebacker, great special teams linebacker. He can also be a Sam for you. That's a good re-signing. Jacob Say, and we already talked about these 3 guys in previous videos. They tendered Jake Bates, so he is coming back. And then these are all the players that signed elsewhere. Kyle Allen to the Bills, Khalif Raymond to the Bears, Coyote Woshika to the Chargers, Roy Lopez, which really, really sucks right now, to the Cardinals, but depending on what the Lions do in the draft, it could hurt a little bit less. Muhammad to the Bucks for $4 million with the base value of 2. Absolutely horrendous, depending on what we do in the draft. It looks really bad right now that the Lions are not bringing him back, but again, depending on what they do in the draft, it could look a little bit better. Tyler Sweet to the Cowboys, Anzalone to the Bucks. That one hurts, obviously, but I think the Lions can end up replacing him with multiple different guys. Grant Stewart to the Rams. Meek Robertson to the Commanders. That's one's going to hurt locker room sake and just play with sake as well. And Daniel Thomas to the Browns. And these are all the players that remain unsigned. Not going to talk about it. Take too long. But pause if you need to. The biggest guy standing out of that list that has not been signed is DJ Reader. And Marcus the Legend Davenport. So there is your free agency. My voice is shot. Again, I hope to get some videos out within the next couple weeks before the draft. Preferably at least the bottom line. I'd like to get 1 Lions mock draft out and 1 full round 1 mock draft out. No guarantees because, again, I can't do that after what I did previously. But we'll see what happens. 1 Pride, go Lions. It's tough to make content, man. It's tough when your team is in a position where you know they're not going to make a splash move to try to go all the way. It's tough, man, because they're taking a huge risk from what they're doing right now. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but they're just taking a huge risk. And really, if they don't knock it out in the draft, knock it out of the park in the draft, I don't really think they got a shot next year to make the Super Bowl. And then I think you're looking at 2027. So, in my opinion, Brad Holmes has to do something crazy in the draft. Whether that's, try to get 2 first-round picks, whether that's trade up in the first round, go get one of the better players in the draft, get like a top 10 pick. Whatever it may be, he needs to do something crazy in the draft to knock it out of the park. So we'll see what happens. 1 Pride, go Lions. Again, if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. I put in the comments if you did, whatever. Again, like to be back full-time, but we'll see if I can get the motivation to come back full time making content. But we'll see. One Pride going Lions. Never gonna give up on the team. Still been as active as ever off camera. Involved with the team and watching film and stuff like that for the draft. So again, that's my love of the game has not gone away. Making content has a little bit. I hope to get the mentality to make content back again, and just the value of me making content. I'd like for that to get back, but we'll see. One Pride, go Lions. Long off season ahead, and the draft is coming up. So there we go. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I forget how to end videos now. It's been so long. Anyway, I'd like to be back. Let's see if we're back full time. We'll see. Again, hopefully we are.